the man people saw in the late chief of staff was a demon operating in deadly silence to achieve obnoxious aims, while the president saw him as an irrepressible ally and an angel fighting his battle with unquestionable loyalty. Is Abba Kyari a friend of the president or an enemy of the people? This is by Samuel Nweti, Chief of Staff to the President, Malam Abba Kyari, passes on. Funeral arrangements were announced and they quickly went on with how they were going to bury him. Some say he was cremated. Some said that body we saw in Gudu, dripping of blood, is that of Abba Kyari. Femi Adesina made this announcement. Is the special advisor on media and publicity to the president, Muhammadu Buhari. And the Nigerian social media space was set ablaze. First, based on the burial and also as regards the death of this man. Now, as condolences pour in from notable people, especially those with political affiliations, others embarked on messages that bear less of solitude. Kobe Bryant, who doesn't have any ties to Nigeria, died, and almost everyone on Twitter in Nigeria felt some genuine sense of sadness. A Twitter user wrote, "But the chief of staff to the president of Nigeria is dead, and a lot of Nigerians don't give a shit. In short, be a proper human when you are alive. Very important." He's not alone in expressing this sentiment. Others followed with what sympathizers deemed rejoicing over the demise of a fellow human. The Kano State Commissioner for Works and Infrastructure, Engineer Mahuzu Magaji, took to his Facebook to express what so many people felt like him feeling joy towards the death of late Kyari. Abba Kyari is no ordinary citizen. He amassed so much power that decided the fate of many nations and its people. Simply put, Abba Kyari is the brain behind Nigeria, working the system, while Buhari is just there, relaxing and enjoying his holiday. Hence, his death is never a personal death. This followed other wishes when Abba Kyari was still there in a sick bed that tells of ill feelings that resonates with so many people. Nigeria is bigger than any individual. While praying for the president's late support staff, ours is to prevent a repeat of his non-accountable domineering era. And this is what this man wrote, Kano State Commissioner for Works. He said, ours is to prevent a repeat of the non-accountable domineering era. May Allah heal Abba Kyari, but may Allah not return him as chief of staff. Now, he wrote this earlier. That's when Abba Kyari was still there in the hospital. And it seems as if their prayers came to pass, as Abba Kyari never returned. PMB needs to be his own man, Magaji wrote, before the death of Abba Kyari. Though he has paid for the post with his job, as he was removed as commissioner by Kano State Governor Umar Ganduje, others lost nothing expressing how they felt about the late chief of staff. The perceived celebration taking place over the death of a top government official defied the supposed eulogy for a man of his caliber. Abba Kyari became chief of staff in 2015, following a record of scintillating career dating back to the early 80s. Abba Kyari graduated with a bachelor degree in sociology from the University of Warwick in 1980, after which he got another degree from the University of Cambridge. In 1983, he was called to the bar after attending Nigerian Law School. In 1984, he went back to the University of Cambridge to obtain a master's degree in law. He also attended the International Institute for Management Development in Lausanne, Switzerland, and was part of the management development at Harvard Business School of 1992 till 1994. Abba Kyari returned back to Nigeria at the end of his educational pursuit to secure some prominent jobs that put him on the spotlight for the position he last held. Upon his return to Nigeria, he worked at the Fani Kayode and Sowemo law firm, where he spent a few years before he moved on to the job of editor of the New Africa Holdings Limited Kaduna, where he worked from 1998 to 1990. He later got a government appointment as the Commissioner for Forestry and Animal Resources in Borno State. Subsequently, he became the secretary to the board of African International Bank Limited, where he worked until 1995. Abba went on to work in many other establishments. The United Bank for Africa hired him as executive director in charge of management services, where he was later appointed the chief executive officer, CEO. In 2002, he moved on to Unilever, where he became a board director of Unilever Nigeria. Between 2000 and 2005, he was an honorary member of the Presidential Advisory Council on Investment in Nigeria. He was a board member of the ExxonMobil Nigeria until 2015. That tells you that this man got opportunity to be in certain juicy positions. I mean, he was able, if you talk about CV, he had it good. It was based on his resume, amongst other factors, that Abba was recommended to serve as Buhari's chief of staff to President Buhari. In his eulogy to him, Buhari extolled his loyalty to him and Nigeria, which has survived many trials apart from death. My loyal friend and compatriot for the last 42 years, and literally my chief of staff, he never wavered in his commitment to the betterment of every one of us. In political life, Abba Kyari never sought elective office for himself. Rather, he set himself against the view and conduct of two generations of Nigerian political establishment who saw corruption as an entitlement and its practice a byproduct of possessing political office, he said. Amidst the barrage of disparaging tributes comes a lonely voice with a question begging for an answer. Why was Abba Kyari hated so much? Bankole Adebayo asked on Twitter. The answer to this question could be traced to the events that marked his time as the chief of staff. While Kyari detests playing to the gallery, his works behind the scene were not free from controversy and criticism. To the president, he is a loyal friend who has sacrificed his personal interest for the good of the country, but to others, he is a member of the cabal holding Nigeria to ransom. In 2016, the Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, in a memo accused Abba Kyari and Babachar Lawal, the then secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF, who was later sacked over corruption of being clueless. His attack on the chief of staff left an indelible mark that shaped the relationship between the Kaduna State government and Aso Rock. The chief of staff is totally clueless about the APC and its internal politics at best, as he was neither part of its formation nor a participant in the primaries, campaigns and elections. In summary, neither of them, Abba Kyari or Lawal, has the personality, experience and the reach to manage your politics, nationally or even regionally, El-Rufai told the president in this memo. And this brought about a loss. Soon, the man El-Rufai lost face. He couldn't connect with Aso Rock, as oftentimes you see him with the president taking pictures here and there. As a result of this, things didn't work any longer. In another development, Abba Kyari was accused of taking 500 million naira bribe from MTN in the notorious case of the $5 billion fine handed to the later by the Nigerian Communication Commission for violation of laid down rules. He was said to have collected the money in order to help the telecommunication giant cut the fine, but Abba Kyari denied any wrongdoing. The former Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibe Kwachuku, had in 2017 accused Abba Kyari of preventing government appointees, himself included, from seeing the president. Abba Kyari's daughter was also secretly appointed as an assistant vice president of the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, NSIA, a role that should have been advertised to the public. He also got into a dispute with the vice president Yemi Osibanjo in what many described as the most notorious among them all. He was said to have influenced the president's decision to discard Osibanjo's request for funds to continue his role in resolving the farmer elders crisis. He was also accused of being the mastermind of the decision to scrap the Economic Management Team, EMT, which was headed by the vice president, and replaced it with the Economic Advisory Team, EAC. Just when it seemed the controversies were dying down, the National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno, accused Abba Kyari of meddling in the affairs of the security of the nation by dishing out orders directly to service chiefs without approval of the president. The chief of staff to the president is not a presiding head of security, neither is he sworn to an oath of defending the country. As such, unprofessional practices such as presiding over the meetings with service chiefs and the heads of security organizations, as well as ambassadors and high commissioners, to the exclusion of the NSA and or supervising ministers, are a complete total violation of the Constitution and directly undermine the authority of Mr. President. I brought you guys a story of the leaked memo. Such act and continued meddlesomeness by the Chief of Staff have not only ruptured our security and defense efforts, but have slowed down any meaningful gain that Mr. President has sought to achieve, he said. The wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, once accused him of hijacking her husband's presidency, as evidenced by the amount of influence that he was asserting in the villa. In 2018, Abba Kyari stripped the Federal Ministry of Health of its power of procurement and transferred the authority to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture due to power play between the then Minister of Health, Professor Isaac Adewale, and Abba Kyari. The consequences of that development came to bear in February when the Ministry of Health had to make preparations to fight coronavirus. It made it difficult for the ministry to procure gadgets and other logistics needed to prevent the disease, as it has been stripped of such powers. As source at the Ministry of Health revealed that the Chief of Staff refusal to reverse his decision on the ministry right of procurement is timing the fight against COVID-19. We can't easily get consumables like personal protective equipment, including masks. We need to set up more labs. We need reagents. There is no way the suspension of our procurement powers will not affect our capacity. Even when we have money, we cannot activate procurement because we have been stripped of our powers of procurement, he said. Abba Kyari was infected with coronavirus when he went to Germany to discuss matters of Nigerian electricity. His trip to Germany was regarded as presumptuous since he wasn't the minister of power. But as in many other cases, he toppled the office of the minister. He was declared the de facto president by many. And when Buhari announced that only memos that go through his chief of staff will get his attention, he was emboldened to play his roles as never before. While there have been a heap of eulogy for the late chief of staff, it is believed to be largely a case of political correctness and wailing of those who know him personally and have benefited from him. Many Nigerians who never had the opportunity to get close to him at all harbor their unreserved resentment towards him based on who they understand him to be. He was a good man, but enmeshed in MTN $500 million bribe scandal. He was a good man, but administered over the most divisive presidency in Nigeria. He was a good man, but ran regime of separate development, 7% over 5%. He was a good man, but sidelined rule of law. Indeed, he was a good man. Oludwa Ekwano wrote on Twitter, the man people saw in the late chief of staff was a demon operating in deadly silence to achieve obnoxious aims, while the president saw an irrepressible ally, an angel fighting his battle with unquestionable loyalty. So I want you guys to talk about this. Let's talk about this. We'll come to the comment section. Let's deliberate on this. What's your take as regards all of this? This simply highlights the sins of Abba Kyari and the person that he is. Okay, he was, he's late anyway. The person that he was when he was alive. If he had thought about building better hospitals in Nigeria since he has become the de facto president, probably would have had better treatment in Nigeria rather than flying abroad every time. And aside that, it would have helped a lot of people even more. But fortunately, that is not the case. He decided by his own self, by his own hands, to shift medical procurement, not because those ones are really doing the right thing anyway. Hospitals in Nigeria had been bad even before Abba Kyari, but it also affected his health, and he has passed on as a result of health issues that they should have dealt with.